For basically all of human history, the dream of living longer, maybe even forever, has been the stuff of myths and legends. But that's all changing. Right now, that quest is moving out of the storybooks and straight into the lab and the stock market. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar race that's not just about curing diseases, but about treating aging itself like something we can, fix. So how close are we really? Let's dive in.
I want you to just imagine this for a second. What if, for every birthday you celebrated, science could give you that year back, and maybe a little extra? You technically be getting younger in terms of your remaining time, even as the calendar pages kept turning. It sounds like straight-up science fiction, I know, but this idea actually has a name, and it's the holy grail of this entire field.
It's called longevity escape velocity, or LEV for short. The best way to think about it is like a rocket trying to break free from Earth's gravity. For decades, medical research has been pushing against that downward pull of aging, adding a few months here, a few months there to our life expectancy. Well, LEV is that tipping point. The moment our research becomes so powerful, it breaks free from that gravity and starts adding more than a year of healthy life for every single year of work we put in.
And if you want to understand just how wild that gets, check out this quote from one of the pioneers in the field, Aubrey de Grey. What he's saying is staggering. Once we hit that escape velocity, the progress could become exponential. The leap from living to 150 to living for 1,000 years might happen in just a decade. It seems like the really hard part is just getting to 150. After that, we might just keep outrunning death itself. Okay, so how on earth could this possibly work? We're not talking about magic potions here. We're talking about hacking the fundamental code of life. And the key technology that has everyone so excited is something called cellular reprogramming.
To get the solution, you first have to understand the problem. Scientists have identified what they call the 12 hallmarks of aging. Think of it like all the different ways a car breaks down over time, right? The engine gets rusty, the tires wear out, the electronics start to fail. Well, these are the cellular level equivalents for our bodies. Everything from DNA damage to our stem cells just getting exhausted.
The potential fix came from a Nobel Prize-winning discovery. It's incredible. Scientists found a cocktail of just 4 little things. They're called OKSM, or Yamanaka factors, that can basically hit the factory reset button on a cell. They can take an old, worn-out cell and completely reprogram it, turning its biological clock way, way back.
But here's the really clever part. If you reset a cell all the way, it becomes a stem cell, which is risky because it can grow out of control and form tumors. Nobody wants that. So the solution, as this diagram shows, is partial reprogramming. You apply those factors for just a short burst. You don't reset the cell, you just rejuvenate it. You make it function like a younger version of itself without erasing what it is or, crucially, without turning it cancerous.
And the results are just stunning. Research is showing that this technique can reverse many of those key hallmarks of aging we just talked about. We're talking about fixing DNA instability, resetting epigenetic changes, which are kind of like software glitches in your genes, and getting our cellular power plants, the mitochondria, working properly again. It's a full-on attack against the very process of getting old.
Now, this isn't just some cool experiment happening in a university lab anymore. This science has kicked off a legitimate gold rush in Silicon Valley and beyond. And to see just how serious this whole effort has become, all we have to do is follow the money.
In 2024 alone, investors poured almost $8.5 billion into longevity companies. That is a massive, massive bet that reversing aging isn't just a scientific possibility, but that it's going to be incredibly profitable. And just look at the acceleration on this chart. The investment more than doubled in a single year. That's a 220% increase from 2023. What this tells you is that the sector is blasting past the early hype and moving into what investors are calling the execution phase. The confidence is absolutely skyrocketing.
So where is this race being run? Well, it's not even close. The United States is overwhelmingly the place to be, accounting for a staggering 84% of all investment deals in the longevity space. It is the undisputed global epicenter of this whole new frontier.
And who's writing these massive checks? It's a really fascinating mix. Of course, you've got Google's venture arm, GV, leading the charge, right alongside hardcore biotech investors. But what's really telling to me is seeing the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, right there in the top 5. This shows that it's not just private capital, but public institutions too, that are all in on this mission.
So with all this incredible science and all this money pouring in, are we on the verge of cracking the code of aging? Well, let's be realistic. The road ahead definitely still has some pretty significant bumps.
The promise is clear, right? Extend not just our lifespan, but our health span by restoring our cells to a younger state. But the problems are very real. The biggest one is safety. The risk of accidentally causing cancer is something researchers are obviously being incredibly careful about. And then there's the delivery problem. I mean, how do you get these reprogramming factors to the exact right cells in the body safely and effectively? These are not small hurdles to overcome.
So the billion-dollar question is still on the table. When might we actually reach longevity escape velocity? Well, some of the top experts have predictions that are surprisingly close. The futurist Ray Kurzweil thinks it could be as early as 2029. Aubrey de Grey, who we heard from earlier, puts it in the mid-2030s. And the legendary geneticist George Church is looking at around 2050. So while the exact dates vary, the general feeling is that this could happen within many of our lifetimes.
And that leaves us with a profound final thought. This technology feels like it's coming, and it has the potential to completely reshape what it means to be human. So as we get closer and closer to hacking immortality, we have to start asking ourselves the tough questions. Who gets to punch the ticket for this ride? Will it be a new frontier for all of humanity? Or will it just be for those who can afford it?